Okay, so I know what you're thinking. There's no way they designed this system to operate with the 5-volt positive on the outer shield. Something's clearly wrong. So let's figure out what's going on.
So I went online and I found this schematic, and I started looking at it, and it became obvious pretty quickly that the shield is supposed to be at ground. You can see here that pins 1, 2, 3 of the DIN are to ground. Pin 5 goes through a capacitor to ground. That's just a bulk supply, and then through an inductor and on its merry way. So that ground has to be that shield has to be ground. I double checked the wiring on the power supply, and sure enough, it was connected backwards. So even though I had labeled the wires between fumbling with the camera and everything else, I managed to hook it up backwards. So I'm lucky I didn't blow anything up. Fortunately, there isn't a lot going on here before the switch is closed. You can kind of see that it's pretty well isolated. I also made note that the fuse was blown, so that's really interesting. And based on the fact that the fuse was blown, that got me more curious about the 9-volt rail. So I took a quick check of the 9-volt rail while plugged in with the switch off and the fuse removed, or blown, and quickly noticed that the 9-volt rail was dropping all the way down to like 4 volts. You can see here, I mean, it goes through a capacitor and a couple of inductors, but I think the 9 volts bad too. So what I decided to do was just replace the entire power supply. So I went over to Amazon and I ordered a new 9-volt AC power supply here. That should be more than enough for our unit. And I got a nice little USB-B panel mount. And I'm just going to chop this off. And then I got an extra cable because I had trouble finding them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a little enclosure for this. But before I do that, I want to make be a little more careful than I have been going forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a test going on my lab power supply and make sure that the Commodore doesn't try to pull more current than it needs. Okay, so here's our test setup. We have our 5-volt supply, which is being current limited to 800 milliamps. Currently pulling nothing. We have our 9-volt AC supply hooked up through this multimeter set to measure current, AC current. We are plugged into the Commodore. We have the Commodore hooked up to the TV through the S-video converter. And I have the fuse removed right now. So what I'm going to do, and I have a temporary LED there. That should show us if the 5-volt supply is working. So I'm going to go ahead and power the Commodore on. And we do in fact get 5-volt power. No video. I think that's to be expected. So let's go ahead and connect our fuse and see what happens. Okay, fuse is in place. Deep breath, and the AC draw is really low. That doesn't seem right, so maybe we still have something going on there. Oh, I see the problem. It's a PEB cap, except instead of the computer, it's the multimeter. If you look closely here, I don't have the leads in the proper hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually power the Commodore back off. And I'm going to fix the leads. This multimeter does beep at me if I plug, like, I'll give you an example. No, it's not beeping. Normally it beeps at me if I have the things in the wrong port, but it doesn't seem to be doing that right now. Not sure what's going on there. Alright, so we're in amperage, because I don't know how much this is going to pull. I don't want to blow my, my fuse. Alright, so now we have the probes connected properly. Alright, here we go. We're going to power it up. Oh, there we go. Now we have some AC draw. Ah! And we have a Commodore 64. Alright, so that 9-volt supply was bad. We have an interesting artifact at the top of the screen. We've got like a, it almost looks like a Commodore 64 rainbow going up there. I'm going to try cycling the S-video adapter through different modes and see if maybe that does anything to get rid of that. That didn't seem to help. There's another button here. Let me try that one. Nope, still there. Of course, that raises the question, is it the adapter or is it the Commodore itself that's making that funkiness? Or is it not liking my my DC supply? It's not too bad. I actually almost kind of like it. I guess what we could try is we could try entering some commands and seeing if anything has an effect on that. Unfortunately, we don't have a keyboard right now because that was getting in the way. I'm going to go ahead and pull this LED out. And so what I'll do next is I'll hook the keyboard back up, and we'll see if that makes any change. All right, got the keyboard hooked up. We're reading about 900 milliamps on the 5-volt DC supply. We're pulling about 0.72 amps on the AC side of things. Let's try to change the background color. Now this is going from memory, which is kind of scary. Keyboard seems to be working. I believe this will change our background color. Hey, look at that! Woohoo! All right, and this should change the outer border to match. There we go, and we can see that that rainbow pattern at the top didn't go away. That's very interesting. All right, let's see if all the keys on the keyboard work. So the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, was it? Uh-oh. It's a lazy dog. Oh, looks like we have a key out. The A key is not working. That's a bummer. Let's try it with caps lock enabled. Ah, well that's still capital letters. Oh. Oh, okay. So I guess the shift doesn't actually change the case of the letters. It enables the secondary functions of the keys. So here is a S. Oh no, we've lost S now too. Did we have S before? The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Oh, we didn't type an S. Must not be a lazy dog. Maybe it's a lazy sheep. So A and S have both failed. So we'll have to look into that. All right, so here's a D. Here's a Shift D, which generates a character on the right-hand side of the key. We'll show that in a minute. And there's a Commodore D. And Commodore Shift D. Oh, Commodore Shift D. Oh, okay. There we go. That changes the case of everything on the screen. I guess for if you didn't like viewing things in capital. Wow, that's crazy. And so we need to figure out what's going on with the A and S keys.